Thank you for having us. Thank you for letting us gather with all of you today. Nick, you'll be joining us again soon. Aleda, Katie, we send you our best. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome to WellVerse Day 2 Summit. We're here for our next panel. We're happy to see all of you here with us at GatherVerse.live and elsewhere throughout our social platforms, carrying and holding discussions. We know many of you are broadcasting to your whole entire offices right now. We see you and we hear you. We know you're there. We're happy to have you join us today. Even our folks over at the YouTube chat stream and elsewhere, from Twitter to Facebook to LinkedIn. We're here for our next panel discussion on decentralization at the intersection of wellness. We've summoned a cohort of practitioners, of technologists, and how they're looking at this rising world of Web3, the Metaverse, and AI. Shall we begin? Each of you, we welcome all of you. We're going to do a round robin of introduction of who you are and what you're doing here today in this gather. We're going to start with Charlene. We ask that everyone else mute their mics. And after Charlene, we'll pass it on and pass it forward. And then we'll delve into a series of questions. We have a lot of wood to chop. Charlene, welcome.
Thank you so much, Christopher. And my name is Charlene Nichols. I am a returned speaker on the GatherVerse panel, so excited to be here again. Quick elevator spiel of who I am. I am a champion for the optical and eye care industry. I've been fighting for the last 6 years to develop decentralized platforms and solutions that empower all of the different layers of the ecosystem. The optical and eye care industry, like many other industries, are very complex, and like many other industries, are very centralized. So if you want to decentralize an industry, you have to facilitate it with frictionless technology. Otherwise, you'll just be disrupting it and not necessarily facilitating it. So I am the founder of the Omniverse City. It was inspired by the optical metaverse. This was a platform that was developed by community, much like the GatherVerse was formed, to bring opticians, optometrists, and the people who love their eyeballs and the ability to see together so they can really start to reimagine vision and, more importantly, vision care. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you, Christopher, for inviting me.
We're happy to have you, Charlene, and thank you. Salman, we have you up next.
Hello. Thank you so much to Christopher and everyone at GatherVerse for putting together this wonderful event. We truly need to be talking about wellness in the midst of this chaos that's going on, and tech transformation and everything, digitalization. My name is Salman Halawi. I am an entrepreneur, futurist, keynote speaker, and the founder and CEO of Meta Designers, a Web3-based services platform aimed at connecting brands with trusted Web3 service providers. Apart from that, I am also a youth advisory board member of the United Nations Development Program here in Lebanon, and I seek to create value alongside all of these wonderful speakers in the next 1 hour that we have.
Salman, we're always happy to have you gather with us. Welcome. Nick, welcome back once again.
Thank you, Chris, and a warm welcome to everybody. And thank you for putting this on, Chris. It's much needed at this time, and the conversations are wonderful. I'm Nick Murray, founder and CEO of Wake Network. We are the largest psychedelic mushroom producer in Jamaica, and we have been working with a number of researchers and medical practitioners over the last 4 years to really bring the knowledge and the therapy of psychedelic medicine to people around the world. We are really excited to be allowing for a decentralized model of research as well as wellness through the tools of Web3, and really bridging the ability for people to speak with a practitioner from anywhere in the world, and most importantly, be able to gift that to anybody in the world. So very excited to dive into this conversation and really learn from everyone.
Nick, we welcome you. Javier, you're up. You've been exploring Web3. We've been seeing you. Welcome to GatherVerse, WellVerse, sir.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Javier Calderon. I think this is like the second time I've spoken with GatherVerse. I am the Chief of Engineering of MetaEngine. What we do basically is we are a game engine where we make it easier for people to onboard any form of Web3 into their games or ecosystem or even Metaverse. Something unique about us is we're also exploring new avenues to bring in AI to where it's possible to create like an NPC, chatbot, or something cool into your game to where it can identify your brand or anything else that you could do.
Thank you, Javier. We welcome you once again. Chris, you've been on an exceptional path. Welcome to WellVerse.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here with so many people. And I hope to learn so much from all of you. I think I'm coming from a little bit of a different perspective, coming from the education world. And specifically, I've started a business that helps people with ADHD and executive function delays, particularly students from middle school through young adulthood, college, and beyond. And just seeing all the opportunities that lie ahead for people with learning disabilities and just with just wellness in general, and connections that can be had and made through some of the ideas that everyone is discussing here, as well as the benefits and the downfalls or the potential dangers of AI on the education world, and how that's going to be addressed, and how students and learners in general can use it to their advantage instead of falling for plagiarism and other potential difficult situations that need to be navigated carefully. So I'm interested in hearing perspectives and learning more and adding what I do have from my perspective.
Plagiarism and many other featured things that you can add to that list. Chris, we welcome you. Paul, welcome back to GatherVerse once again. If you unmute your mic, sure, we're happy to have you from so far away.
Yes, definitely. I took the longest train back to the GatherVerse. And I think we should rename the Metaverse to the GatherVerse, because it's where we all tend to meet. People who are, interested in changing the social scape of the world around them using AI and the Metaverse. So yeah, my name is Paul Mwithiga, but I have got so many long names I can't fit on the screen. We're going to go with that for now. I'm the CEO of Africa VR Campus and Center. And what we are doing is we are building the Metaverse technology for social use from the grassroots up. Thank you.
We welcome you. Audience, those that are with us today, at this particular session, we're about to delve into the world of decentralization, Web3, Metaverse, and AI. We're going to see what it looks like under the banner of wellness as a whole. You've heard so far the introductions from our speakers that have come to gather us today. Each man and woman an expert in what they do and what they've been focalizing for some time. Today is a moment of information and distribution and voice amplification. We're getting ready to take it there to a heightened step, and we're going to accelerate the cadence as we have a lot of ground to cover. There's many people that are with us, Charlene. When I think about what your work has been, Charlene, and under the banner of wellness, when it comes to the metaverse, you've been on quite a journey. What I want you to do is share with us why my eyes are so important in this new emerging world to come. I believe this is quite prevalent, and what the metaverse means towards the impact of this therein. Your mic, please.
It's really an important question, and I'm going to I'm going to break it down to a word that came to me. And you know when this word came to me, because you and I were actually having a conversation. When I was pivoting from the traditional way that I was communicating with the industry through, virtual platforms like a Zoom style platform and, physical meetings and things like that into the metaverse, I had to find a way that I felt was relevant. And the word visualization kept coming to mind simply because it sounded sophisticated and advanced and technologically appropriate. But I wanted to really understand that word before I started using it, because in my industry, which is mostly optometry and optical related, there was this kind of unique relationship between optometry and neurology, which I didn't really understand until I started to mess around with this word. Okay.
Sure.
And when you think about visualization, and I strongly suggest that everybody Googles this word and understands it at depth. Ask ChatGPT, ask a friend, anyone that you want, because we all need to really understand the power of visualization. This is what controls our memories, our reasoning, our way of processing information. It is really, really, really important. And I've learned that it's really a big component of AI. Actually, it's one of the ways that they actually train some of these technologies is through a form of visualization that's more. And I'm not going to speak to that because I'm not an expert here, but it just speaks to the idea that the information that you receive visually as a human through your eyes really shapes everything that you are as a person. If you think about movies that you've seen that have defined cultural shifts and, your parents, the things that they do, you think about your mother's face or your father's face or your children's face, like these are all memories that you have because of your ability to see. Now, in the age that we're in, where we're all using technology more than we ever have before, there is literally, I know this, I come from an industry that does the research that we all use to determine trends and shifts. I'm sorry to tell you, there is not enough time for us to measure the impact that all of these new lengths of time that we're spending in front of all sorts of new technologies. Now we're moving technology even closer to our face with VR. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's severely understudied. And we have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility as a champion for the bridge that's going to connect the Web3 AI and technology world with the vision world to really communicate in a better way so we can have sustainability specifically related to vision.
Indeed. Javier, you're up. Thank you, Charlene, for expressing that. We'll put a pin in that. We will be addressing more of that in a moment to come. Javier, help me to make sense of something here. When you were with us with GatherVerse, we weren't seeing this complete explosion of AI, of these large language foundational models and generative pre-trained transformers that we're seeing now. We're, however, seeing an explosion, or perhaps even in a sunset towards the winter of crypto assets and NFTs, if you will. It's at a variance. Help me and help us all to make sense on where are we right now when it comes to Web3, and how might wellness be ensued with everything that we're seeing presented?
So how would Web3 be ensued into wellness across it? Give you a little more specific, so this way I'm not so technical across it as well.
Go for it.
Question?
When we talk about that, we talk about this Web3 era with everything that you're building with MetaEngine, with the focus. It surely has been disruptive in your way of thinking of what it is that you've been crafting, if you will, whether in your alpha and your beta. What are you seeing?
I'm actually seeing just a lot of transformative tech across it, to where people could be building just like unique experiences across the metaverse, where I've seen even people develop like a full-on way to where you can prompt your own experience. Like if you think it, you can type it, you can create it. And across that, I've just seen just like a variety of methodologies just to create, like say, like a full-on NFT to where it can actually support other people for what their causes are, for what they idealize and conceptualize. Even to where, like, as they continue building an NFT or collection, or I'd say now more collectible in terms of it, they can actually integrate that to bring, say, more of like an experience towards that specific collectible, or they're just showing people like, hey, this is what actually is what we are about, and also what we represent. When it comes down to, say, like the technology as a whole, there's just so much room across it. Like for me lately, for the past maybe month and a half, or even longer than that now, 8 months, I've been diving deep into AI as a whole and learning that you can do quite a lot of this behavior modeling. Also, a lot of these LLMs to where you can actually structure things out to where you can develop like a full-on NPC with a behavior model right behind it, to where it can actually engage and personify your brand, your vision, your ideas with the proper guardrails, as well as also just behaving as, say, a specific individual. Like say you could have it act as Justin Bieber, it could act as like some form of personality or anything like that, to where they can personify anything and even express that vision across it. It was very unique as I was like running across this research and testing things out.
Let me give a brief follow-up to that, Javier. You do have a certain temperament when it comes to understanding the Web3 community. Largely, is the Web3 community the frontline builders of these technologies? Remember, audience, artificial intelligence is not a single variable equation. It's a multi-variable equation in which it interacts and intercedes with all of these other different technologies that are being developed and ascending right now within the eco habitat. Javier, largely, or even maybe perhaps even on a boutique fashion, is the Web3 community embracing AI?
I think they're slowly embracing it now that they see what they can do with it. In terms of it, I've seen even people like develop full-on tokens, NFTs across that with AI as a whole. And something I do really idealize and actually firmly believe is that using Web3 into AI is actually going to be something very important, especially now of AI being able to create like a deep fake. Like right now, I could get like a full video recording of your voice and create a deep fake of you, and nobody would be able to tell the difference. How you can apply Web3 on top of that is basically that validation method to where it's like, hey, this is you, this is through your wallet, when I know that's you specifically, and you actually verified it from your end. And there's also multiple other people around us that can actually validate that information.
Well expressed, well met, Salman. I need to understand something, how we're designing. You're working over at Meta Designers, and how we're designing this future that we find ourselves in. Are we getting more help that we need when it comes to AI, or is AI being a little bit too more invasive? Do we want the help of AI? Do we not want the help of AI? Do you see this as a value add towards what you're doing? And how might you see it with a hint of what we're building be applicable for wellness?
All right. For this, there are two sides of the coin, of the coin, Christopher. Just like with any other technology. From a creative point of view, I come from the creative industry before going into tech. I'm not a big fan of AI. I consider that it limits the creativity when used rigorously and when relied upon, as it makes a designer's life a lot easier. So that is from a designer's point of view. I'm not a big fan of AI. I like for designers to design the spaces they're getting paid to design, and the spaces that they are commissioned to design for people whom at the end of the day are going to be using these spaces. And it gives us a lot more control over what we're designing and how these dwellings are going to be on the metaverse. Because as you know, if you misdesign a space, you're risking this person going into something I like to call contextual anxiety and isolation. Now, the other way to look at it is from the lens of a disruptive tech professional, a digital transformation specialist would look at it as a pivotal technology in enabling and enhancing and making the design process much easier. We look, for example, at Project Karaoke by Meta. I watched a trailer launched by Meta where Zuckerberg was just sitting alongside someone in their team, and they were saying prompts, and the AI was just generating whatever they were saying inside of the space, and they made a full-blown space within 10 minutes. Thinking about how easy it can become for a user to design a space, that is definitely a huge opportunity. And that is one of the many opportunities of AI. So as I said, there are two sides of the coin.
Even with this rapid rise that we see happening in technology, such as AI, and the rapid adoption, Paul, even with what we see happening, particularly in North America, and in many ways Europe and in Asia and in Africa, I know that we still have a limiting opportunity because we don't have the necessary accessibility that we need. While many of us are enthusiastic, or perhaps not so enthusiastic, about this incoming wave, if you will, tsunami even, of artificial intelligence, Paul, has this technology been made accessible enough from your lens?
No, it has not been. And part of the reason why we sought to have all these headsets behind me is to hand them out here in the continent. And so we give them to the social grassroots leaders, because we feel that for the metaverse to make sense in the African continent, then it must make sense to the status quo of the continent, be it social status or even education status. That's the only way we can familiarize this technology to this continent. And so what we do is we figure out the social grassroots leaders. It could be women who are looking at children issues. It could be teachers who are looking at the deficit that is there in the education, system. Because let's be real, microscopes are expensive, very expensive. And some high schoolers have never even looked at a plant cell or an animal cell through a microscope. And so I always say that the teachers in Africa are very creative because they have to be artists first of all. They go to the blackboard and draw a replica of how a cell would look like to a child who is, seated in the classroom. So to supplement that, we take the headset. There is a lot of free resources, even in YouTube VR. We play the video of that plant cell, and the student is immersed in that, in that plant cell, and they can be able to say that I saw a mitochondrion right here in my face. And we believe that it will be a good supplement to what we are lacking in terms of resources in the continent. But what I'm surprised with is the gatekeeping policies that are there in the corporates that are involved in the in the metaverse industry. Some apps like Horizons, for example, have never been available in Africa, and we are wondering why all the geolocation. Let the accessibility be open to everyone. Let everyone experience what everybody else in the world is experiencing. Let there be no this is for the West or this is for the East or this is not for Africa. And we want those tools unlocked, even for our creators down here, because we have a lot of youth who are willing to step in that metaverse world. Thank you.
I am 100% lockstep and advocacy with you when it comes to that, Paul, because I think it's plain and plumb right. Listen, technology has not arrived until it's arrived for all of us. And I do believe that we're at a severe deficit when we do not have the right type of cultural contribution globally, contributing towards what we see developing and what we see arriving in Web3. Nick, I know that you know a lot about this because you are a traveler. You travel a lot. You build outside of North America. You're building often, seeing things from your lens when it comes to the accelerant rise of emerging technologies and some of what is already being expressed now, but also on the other side of it when we talk about wellness. But I also know that of late, and perhaps for even a little bit more time than I even maybe have an appreciation for, that you've been heavily focused on decentralization. What does the marriage pairing of these technologies look like with wellness in the center?
Absolutely. Well, decentralization is a wide one in my world, and I say that because it goes from research, it goes to medical, and then it goes to the actual building of a world where people can actually interact with it, and they can build a world just like Salman was saying with regards to karaoke. There's a world where we can learn from a research study or people doing decentralized research on the other side of the world. And that research can then go into a translational medicine model where people can actually be doing remote patient monitoring at home and then have that research being brought into the home. So decentralization is not only just for the research world where people can actually have a very diverse sample set of people part of their study. Traditionally, studies would be done at a clinical research organization. That organization was in an urban center. And maybe it was multi-site, but it would be in one country or maybe in one continent. And so you're not getting a diverse sample set. And then that translates into the data that goes into the actual product, whether that's a drug or a technology. And so right from the beginning of the funnel, so to speak, you're not getting a diverse sample set. So diversifying and really making it remote so that people can participate from home, can have real world data, whether that's sleep or that's their medication intake or both. this is where we must start the medical journey. And that's really where my company's focused, is really allowing for people to have the technological tools, whether they're the clinical research organization doing the research, or they're the physician trying to learn from that research, or they're the patient or the study participant that's actually being a part of either research or medical. So it is something that is quite transformative, where we can allow for people to be a part of research as well as be treated with medical in a real diversified fashion. So regardless of where you are on the world, on the socioeconomic level, you can actually be a participant and really contribute and actually get value from this new model. So allowing for people to be invited to a study from their home, participate in the study from their home, and then actually benefit from those results from their home. These are things we've never had before. And tools like Web3, AI are going to continue to unlock that. And this is really a betterment for humanity, for research, for the world as a whole, to be able to benefit from research wherever it's happening in the world, and then actually bring it into their world without having to go to an urban center or take a flight or pay a lot of money. So it's truly democratizing the wellness and the research worlds, which is very, very, very exciting.
Thank you, Nick, for sharing that with us. And for all the ones that are just joining us now with GatherVerse.live, and there's quite a few of you, and clearly there is an appetite for wellness when it comes to technology. We're really happy to see this right now. And we also welcome all of you that are at our social platforms as well, be it YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and different various groups. We're happy to have you as well. Chris, I want to understand something from the neurodivergent community, because we talk about accessibility. We don't want to leave any community out. For those that are part of the neurodivergent community, such as myself, help or a hindrance is AI, Metaverse, decentralization from your eyes?
Yeah, I think it could be a mix of the two in many ways. There's benefits and potential dangers for, as we said, as I alluded to earlier, in terms of AI and the education world, and being able to, and as Salman hinted at earlier, being able to visually understand, represent things, and it could be a potential downfall in terms of like creativity and stripping students of their ability to think critically on really important ideas. So I think it's a great tool in many ways. In my limited exposure to some of it, but I think it's a great tool as idea generation and getting the creative juices flowing. But as a tool for research and other things, it may come into a hindrance, be a hindrance in some aspects, because when you're dealing with young people, oftentimes they're going to take the easier path, and especially for neurodivergent students, they're going to, they have a difficulty getting started and like completing tasks and focusing their attention for long periods of time. So if they're struggling, they might take the easy way out. However, at the same time, it might be a great tool for idea generation, getting started, and helping them kind of focus on the key points that get them to the next level. So the way that I see it is another benefit of it would be just like the ability to have relationship building, which is such a key component for a lot of my clients and my students, and like being able to interact with people from their own comfort zone, and being able to kind of explore their interests. So many of my students are interested in gaming and cryptocurrency and learning so much about like technology, that they're really going to come around to these ideas. And I think the sooner that happens, the better. That we as educators need to kind of take this and carefully analyze it and use it in ways that help our students and show them the power, like Nick was alluding to. There's so much power in this tool. Like, we can use it for good or we can use it for bad, and I think we have to make the right decisions around that.
Thank you, Chris. Charlene, how do you envision the intersection of Web3, AI, and the metaverse, and the incredible work that you all are doing over at Omniverse?
Thank you for asking that question. You know, one of the things that I think I've done that is a little bit more pioneer than the time typically would allow, considering what a huge crossroads we're at with people that are radically adopting technology and people that are radically resisting technology, is I've created a way for people that are still resisting technology to participate in it, even though they don't agree with it, so that they can understand what these tools actually are capable of and then make a more logical decision about whether they like it or not. I was actually a little reluctant to AI when it first emerged, when that GPT explosion occurred, which is only a few months ago, because I don't really trust anything that comes out that quickly. And that, I mean, it went viral so fast. We were talking about a technology that disrupted Google. Okay. Like, this is one of the largest success stories in history. And I kind of joke and I say Google got punked, which we never thought would ever happen. Right. So this is kind of cool because that's what decentralization was all about. Right. Is like upsetting the apple cart. But the question always is the grass really greener on the other side? And I think we're still learning that question in real time. I think you alluded to something earlier, Christopher, about the connection between AI and the metaverse and gamification and Web3 and crypto and real world and all these different things. And I think that we're imagining these things as silos, but the beauty of Web3 is there really shouldn't be any silos. These are all layers of each of us. We are each individually a metaverse, and there is only one metaverse, obviously, but each of us is going to experience these things and perceive them and process them and use them differently. And I think the magic of this new era is that nobody's going to say this is the rule book, this is the way it goes. It goes first day. It's not like baking a cake anymore. The whole beauty of this new world and this new toolbox, I mean, I'm a perfect example of this. I should not be here. I should not have built an open world platform on Unreal Engine 5 that's so accessible and easy to use that an optometrist can do it and a crypto bro can do it. That shouldn't exist, but it does. Not because I have the most money in the world, not because I have the biggest investors in the world, because I had a vision and a dream that I believed in, and I used the tools that were available to me in a very unique way. And I think that level of individuality and our ability to express ourselves in a very unique and individual way is it's just a very big opportunity for humanity that I don't think every individual human being has realized yet. But as more humans realize the power they now have, I think the world is going to evolve very quickly. And what you're doing, Christopher, is very important because everybody here has a unique perspective. But what I love about the right way to do Web3 is that it's right when people are free to express themselves without ridicule and without criticism, because no one has the right to say that their way is right or wrong, because there is no right or wrong. That's the beauty of this world that we're in now. It's just about, am I being kind? Am I being human? Am I breaking anything? Am I progressing? Those are like some of the metrics that I look at when I determine what's, working or not working.
Thank you for sharing that, Charlene. Javier, every time I go to Twitter, I'm seeing some new technology exploding on the scene. As you've expressed that you're seeing so much that's arriving, and it seems like it went from per week to every day. When I walk here in Silicon Valley, I listen to the different hacker communities that I'm part of, good hacker communities that I'm part of, and they're expressing the things that are breakthrough technologies. And it just seems like the cadence, the tempo of technology has accelerated. Are you seeing similar when it comes to Web3, let's say within the past year?
I would say so, yes. I'm actively, whenever I'm engaging these communities, I see something new and just ever changing across it. But it's even like, say, some projects that are bringing even AI as a whole to make it possible for somebody to just make a full, I'd say, even metaverse for some of them, even unique kind of ways to where like people are developing unique documentation across CK snarks, even certain say bots out there that actually could help people generate a quick revenue. It's very diverse across it. It's like it's either across AI, it's either across blockchain, but I notice even with the crypto bros out there, they're also testing AI to see how they can actually improve Web3 as a whole. And there's just very unique fundamentals that I've seen being tested across it, to where there's like this one guy, I don't know if you guys have seen that, I think his name is Jared from Subway or something like that, where he's creating these unique bots and he's generating like 50 ETH a day. Other moments I've seen where these group of guys that are just literally in their basement when I went out to Las Vegas maybe about a month ago, and they showed me like what they're doing in terms of building out their own metaverse. And they're using quite a lot of AI across it. And this is all built on top of Unity. And I've just been engaging with them, actively helping them on what they need, providing the tools and even guidance across it. It just, in the Web3 community, I think it's constantly ever changing, even with AI. With the advancement of AI, if anything, it's actually pushing developers, it's pushing creators, it's pushing everybody just to do a lot more across it.
And I'm glad I asked you this question, because you're touching on something that's so sensitive and very apropos, whether our communities will want to appreciate the magnitude of actually what you just expressed. That goes hand in hand with something that, Solomon, that you brought up when we're talking about spaces and occupying therein. When we talk about the things that Charlene's building and whole entire communities. When we talk about democratized access that we talked about in our last panel, Nick. Solomon, one of the things that are my concern is we're heading, I believe, into an animate economy. I believe that we're heading into a place in time where there's so much democratized utility of access that we're able to create these virtual worlds based on our own imaginations, and to be able to easily render out these virtual existences. And when we talk about the functioning role of Web3, that will have a, if you will, a layer one chain. It could be Lamina 1 or whoever else is building in the work of blockchain layer 1 systems, to where we'll have a layer 1 chain that creates a whole financial interchange of buy, sell, and trade, if you will, that's data time-stamped of crypto assets or meme coins, altcoins, and perhaps even converted fiat into digital currencies, where these communities have the capability to be self-sustaining, to where I am able to build a virtual world within the metaverse, an open world, interoperable, and I'm also able to do financial transactions, to be able to have real-time commodity access when I am operating with this individual virtual world. We've become more virtual in the past 32 months than we have the past 32 years, and we know that we're not going back. Solomon, are we moving too fast? Because there are many that make the argument today that we are moving too fast. There are some that say we're on a right pace. And then there's the few people such as myself that believes that we aren't moving fast enough. Solomon, we're going to be occupying spaces virtually. We already are. Wellness is a dramatic concern about what happens in these spaces, especially for our young people. Are we moving too fast right now?
All right. Now, if I did get you right, because my internet connection did go out for a bit.
Can somebody get Solomon some Starlink over here, please?
We need that in Lebanon. We need that. We are moving too fast, in my opinion, with AI specifically, because when you're talking about 2,000 platforms last week alone, and the week before it, and the week before it, and there's so many platforms coming out that we don't know much of the implications of. It causes some concern. And in my opinion, this is not something I like for Web3, but I like it for AI, is moderate regulation. Just so that we could, get control off of these algorithms that are learning at much faster pace than humans, that are much more intelligent than humans, and have more access at one given second to information than any human on this planet. So I believe AI should be monitored. Now, when we talk about Web3 and the metaverse, on the other hand, I believe we are not moving fast enough. There is a lot that has been done and a lot that should be done for us to achieve a more accessible, more interoperable, more efficient state of the metaverse. But that is mostly attributed to the fact that most people in the metaverse are still getting their idea of what the metaverse should be. So once we reach a full understanding of what we want Web3 to look like, what we want the metaverse to look like, how we want everything to shape up, that's when we can start moving at the pace that you would want and that everyone would want.
Thank you for sharing that, Solomon. To our audience that are joining us at GatherVerse.live, we're so happy to have you. Thanks for leaping in. We're sitting here talking about the intersection of decentralization, Web3, the metaverse, AI, and wellness. It's very interesting to hear from the diverse opinions that are here. We welcome and celebrate them all. We don't shun them, even when there is a bit of a contrast. I know for myself, speaking for myself, that I don't believe that we're moving fast enough. But that's from a lens of a hardcore technologist and someone that's been in this space for a very long time. I particularly like to stay ahead of the technology. I don't want to see the world where the technology has become more advanced than technologists, but I believe also that ship may have already sailed based on what we just heard from Solomon just express some 2,000 platforms coming out a week. Javier, we're seeing the explosion of Web3 and new AI devices and platforms that are arriving to our shores by way of Twitter and LinkedIn and what we're seeing with that. Chris, is it moving too fast for those that are working and trying to make sense of this technology to help others under the banner of wellness?
I think it is moving a little too quickly for especially the education world. And I think that, if your expertise is in education, you may not have the same kind of ideas or understanding of this technology that you do in your content areas. And specifically for the neurodivergent community, I think it, once again, it's a little bit of a blurred line, but when it comes down to it, if there are ways we can use it to motivate, to get people to act and have some sort of control over the situations, then I think it can be harnessed. So it's moving quickly, but I think everything moves quickly these days, and we have to kind of adapt and we have to change. We have to be able to use the resources at our fingertips to find ways to be active participants in the world. Like I said before, creating relationships, exploring interests, exploring ideas, and going further with things than you may have, with the technology that you have at hand.
Do you welcome the idea of having AI be a firm assistant to you? Possibly, won't say taking over from what you do. I for the audience, I don't believe that AI will completely replace every single existing job, but I believe that your practitioner of whatever vertical that you operate in that uses AI will replace you if you don't. I believe that's the world. Do you embrace artificial intelligence, Chris, to be able to help you move forward in what you do in education?
I think I do embrace it in some ways, and in other ways, I reject it. But I think the ways that I accept it, it's where they're being used in the right ways. But and a perfect example in which I reject it is there are students who are using it to write papers and to basically take the place of using their own intellectual capacity to critically think. And I think that's a huge danger. But there are aspects of it that I do embrace. One other student of mine has wrote his senior project for his university on using gaming as an exploration of sharing ideas in a philosophical space and exchanging and coming up with a framework for using games in the right ways and using the technology to kind of move forward in these philosophical ideas. But that can be used in a lot of different areas of education. But I think there's not enough people maybe working on these kinds of things in this area. And that's why it might be moving too fast. And we're not caught up with that yet. I know there's a lot of work being done in the gamification world in education, but I feel like to the typical student that I come across, there's very little interaction with this type of technology unless they have their own specific self-interest in that topic and have done significant self-study in that area.
Wonderful. And we appreciate your lens for sharing on that when it comes to education. On the topic, audience, we're talking about whether this technology is moving fast enough or maybe it's going too slow. But Paul, for some realities, it's just not moving at all. It's just not going anywhere. Let me ask you something, Paul. Let's say, hypothetically, in this very possible reality, that all the technology arrives to the shores of the beautiful continent that we know as Africa. Does it bring a value add to Africa? Does it bring wellness to Africa, unlike anything that we've ever seen with your involvement and what you have had the opportunity when it comes to having your experiences of these technologies?
And, that's why we are pioneering this shipment of all these headsets to Africa, because we believe that technology should be decentralized from particular regions and be brought actually here where it is needed most. Let the people choose which technology they want to use. If we are still stuck riding bicycles, how long will it take me to travel all the way to the coast to get the headsets to Nairobi? So let it come, and let those who are willing to use it, use it. And we are still aware, down here, that there are people who in the West who actually have not embraced VR and its technologies. And the same thing is what will happen even here in Africa. Let those who are going to embrace VR embrace it, and those who want to use it, let them use it. Let those who want to embrace Web 3.0 and AI, ChatGPT has actually been used a lot here. When Bab came out by Google, I called my associate in the US and told him, hey, there's a new AI that is out. And I'm the one who had to brief him that is, there's actually something else that is out. So let it come. Let us use it if we so well wish. And we believe that technology can be used also in the social growth, social mental growth. And not just that. When we created an event in the Metaverse and started talking about Africa, people came to those events. And one thing that they were interested in is the secondary point of view from what the mainstream media has been telling them. If I didn't have that technology, how would I have spoken about who I am as an African rather than what CNN and Fox and anyone out there want to depict me? So this is what we're talking about. Let the technology come. Let us use it anyhow we want to use it. It will not be used in the same way by everybody. I liked Chavin's comment that there is individuality in technology. How I use VR is not how a digital creator would use VR. So there we come. Then we can take it up from there.
I'm enjoying this conversation so much, and thank you, Paul, for your expressions. And here's why. Listen, GatherVerse isn't going to be the platform that tells you about the new headset, the HMD. We let our friends at AWE and other platforms talk about that. We're not going to be the ones to tell you about the latest microchip and regenerative pre-trained transformer. That's not what we're about. We're talking about what happens when you don't have access, or when you do have access to this technology, what that means to humanity, human betterment, and sustainability. Really powerful points made and expressed so far. But Nick, I need to make sense of this on a widespread view. What are we doing here today? We know that all these people are sitting here at GatherVerse.live and our other social platforms. We know that there's a real concern when we talk about wellness in this world. And every continent has its own fair share of ideals of wellness and confrontation, mass shootings, teen suicides, poverty, depression. It's all over and in specific different locations and places. But on the other hand, we're seeing this explosion of technology. That what we are seeing, whether it's from Chris's lens as an education practitioner, or whether it's from Charlene as an entrepreneur and founder, as someone that's also a practitioner and dealing with optics, if you will, we're seeing all of these tools prospectively, let's say even a percentage of the 2,000 new technology platforms that are arriving every week that Solomon made mention of and that Javier is seeing. Even on a monocle level, a percentage of these technologies can be helpful towards sustaining humanity. Nick, help me to make sense of this. Is this going to be a benefit of this explosion, this renaissance of innovation? Can this ultimately be a game change for wellness as a whole in this world?
Absolutely. I think it can be. I think it's a rallying cry. I think it's something that people have been waiting for. I think it's an inevitability in one way. And If you look at sci-fi over the last few decades, I mean, it has converged to what we all thought we would have. We almost have flying cars, but we have the tricorder now, and it will continue to become smarter. And what we need to do, and this is the scary part, is impart ethics and impart empathy. And it's very difficult because we're trying to take the Web 2 and the traditional 20th century way of doing things and really plonk it onto this very expansive thing called AI that is moving faster than any other technology ever has. Now, it's just the traditional way of looking at things, and until there's a better way, then that's what the powers that be, let's call them, will do. But how do we make sure that there is empathy and EI, emotional intelligence, built in, baked in, and really at the foundational level of these technologies? Because wellness requires bedside manner, as they call it in the medical world, and that bedside manner is emotional intelligence. And if you have a technology that doesn't have that at the base level, or it's not required, or for whatever reason it wasn't built in by the creators of the system, then you don't have what makes us human in a way. And emotions makes us human, and real empathy makes us human. And it is a driver of a lot of things that we do. It's not just money that makes us want to create things. It's the empathy for our fellow man, fellow woman, ourselves, that really drives us to do the things we do every day. So we have an opportunity. We have a technology that really brings us together. It's something that is very democratized. It does not require you to have a GPU now. You can do it online like a lot of people have been doing through their browser. We need to maintain that accessibility. I think that's number one. The potential for regulatory capture by some of the providers who are ahead of the game, let's say it, where they say, okay, we've got to where we are, and now if you want to create your own LLM, or your own AI, you need to go through a set of criteria that could actually end up being, an effect to the democratization, where only those who have the money and the legal access to be able to go through those hoops will be able to have these AIs. So we're in a very, very exciting time, but a very potentially, anxiety creating time, where people aren't sure about their jobs. They're not sure about how these things are made. They're not sure about if there's biases built into them. And all of these things need to be figured out. It's very difficult to see where that'll go. And that's the beauty of humans. We will figure it out. And obviously with the help of AI and technology. But this is a transformative time. There's no doubt about that. And we need to see that from all aspects, whether it's the medical aspect, or it's the educational aspect, or if it's right on the creator side of things. We really need to embrace this technology, because it is a gift in a way, and it will transform humanity. But we need to make sure that ethics and emotional intelligence is within that, because otherwise we won't have what truly makes us human, which is that collaborative nature that's really in our subconscious and in the base being of ourselves.
With GatherVerse, we wholeheartedly agree about the necessary look at ethics. We have a summit that's dedicated next month, actually, called Ethical. We hope that all of you will join us when it comes to these expressions and more. Charlene, I need you, and thank you, Nick. Charlene, I need you to speak to the innovators of the world. We've been talking a lot about innovation. I need you to speak to the innovators of the world. Salman, I'll need you to talk about the innovators of the world while we wrap up here. What do I mean by this? Because bear with me real quick, Charlene. I kind of want to lean in. Audience, I want you to lean in with us for a moment, because we're talking about the innovators, not just innovation. Might we be more concerned for those that build these technologies rather than the technologies that they build? What is it to be a founder in today's world where you're up against the massive and mighty juggernauts of Meta? What is it to say that you want to come out there and compete and build your own platform with these democratized tools? But you have to go up against such a mighty, massive hill. How can you compete with a finite, limited budget against a multi-manifold billion-dollar infrastructure? But you know that your culture and contribution that you have to give is just as incredible. I'm talking about the wellness of innovators. Charlene, talk to them about the perseverance of what it takes to be able to innovate in today's climate.
Oh my goodness. And there were so many great points shared that I just wanted to chime in on. So I'll do like a speed dating kind of wrap up. Number one, we're talking about, are we at the right time? I believe in divine timing. God put every single human being, whoever you define God to be, in this very specific time in life. And aren't we privileged that we get to drive the future? Because this is a pivotal point in human history too. Let's think about human to human interactions above all else, because that's what we're creating here, is a place for humans to continue to interact. And getting to meet someone like Paul in Africa wasn't possible in the physical world. It is possible now in the virtual world. And thank God that this globalization can occur, because we really need to understand the cultural diversities. 3, I did not have money when I built this. That was the one currency I didn't have the luxury of having, but I wanted to build this badly enough, not because I wanted to make money. That wasn't what this was about. Obviously, I want to provide a great future for my family. That's important. I am not a philanthropist. I am going to make money from this platform, but that wasn't the reason I built it. I built it because I have children. They need to see. Our world needs to have a visual sustainability, and the centralized owners of the centralized ecosystem that decides who gets to see and who doesn't get to see had created such a disintegrating ecosystem. They themselves are trying to figure out a better way to reaffirm it. So my currencies are community, kindness, authenticity, hard freaking work. These are currencies that you have. Forget about crypto as an alternate currency. It's great. I don't understand it. I don't use it. I use other alternative currencies like kindness, humanity, being able to actually continue to embrace my community. There are beautiful people that I've met who have said, look, you may not have the money, but you need guidance. You need strength. I'm going to cry. I'm going to be there for you. And that has taken me that one little step further. You have got to keep your eye on the prize. If you really believe in something, don't let anything get in your way. The moment you're about to give up, that's a gift. That is the sign that you are about to hit the next level. It's the moment to push through. That's my advice. You're muted, Chris.
Christopher, you're muted.
Forgive me. You know, we never have enough time, do we? Time is so fleeting with all these expressions. I have dozens more questions for you, but we find ourselves absent of a thing that we never get back again. I want to say with the heartfelt expression, of all the places you could have been today, you decided from your hearts to share, to be with us. This is your community just as much as anyone else's. We do value you, Salman, Chris, Nick, Javier, Paul, and Charlene. We welcome you to come back with us again in future summits that we're going to hold. We hope that you'll stay with us as we continue to move forward towards the conclusion of this Day 2 summit. Audience, thank you for joining with us. It's been rather informative. We'll meet again. Be well.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you, Christopher.